Imagine standing in front of your people after being publicly beaten, your body barely steady. Knowing the punishment is not over, you think this ends with you. It doesn't. Roman soldiers are already moving past you. They are not there to restore order. They are not there to make arrests. They are reaching for your daughters while you are still standing in the open. You were a queen. You were an ally. You followed Roman law. None of it matters now. There is no trial. There is no charge. This is happening in public, where everyone can see it. The crowd has gone silent. Not because they are confused, but because they know exactly what is about to happen. This is where Rome expected you to submit. This is where a mother was supposed to break. This isn't fiction. This happened. Roman historians recorded it using the fewest words possible because even by Roman standards, what followed was difficult to write down. By the end of that day, Rome believed Britain had been broken. Instead, it triggered a rebellion that burned Roman cities and nearly forced the empire to abandon the island. But that rebellion comes later. Before Britain burned, Rome had already perfected how to deal with defeated queens. And this is where that lesson begins. If hidden horrors of the past fascinate you, subscribe to Grim History, hit the like button, and once you reach the moment that unsettles you most, tell me where you're watching from. Let's begin. You are being marched forward through the streets of Rome. Roman guards flank you on both sides, controlling your pace, forcing you to keep moving as your body strains against the weight dragging at your arms. You are not allowed to hurry. You are not allowed to stop. The chain locked around your wrists is cold against your skin, and unmistakably gold. It catches the light as you move, pulling the crowd's attention with every step. It is not designed to stop you from running. It is designed to make sure no one looks away. The weight pulls at your shoulders before the pain reaches your legs, and you understand the purpose immediately. You are not being restrained, you are being displayed. You hear the crowd before you see them. Thousands of voices layered together, laughter, shouting, anticipation. This is not the sound of execution. They are excited. And that is when the fear sets in. Rome kills its enemies quickly when it wants them gone. When Rome keeps you alive, it is because your body still has a use. You lower your eyes, not in submission, but because whatever waits at the end of the road has already been decided. You just don't know what it is yet. Waiting is part of the punishment. Then the perspective widens. This isn't just you. This happened to Queen Zenobia of Palmyra. In 272 CE, the Roman legions finally caught her. For years, Zenobia had done what no Eastern ruler dared. She challenged Rome openly. She carved out an empire stretching from Egypt through Syria and into Anatolia. She ruled in her own name, minted her own coins, commanded armies, and forced Rome to treat her as more than a disposable client ruler. When Emperor Aurelian marched east, it was not to negotiate. It was to erase her. Zenobia knew how Roman wars ended. She had seen the triumphs. She knew what happened to defeated kings. When her final army collapsed near Antioch and her last escape toward Persia failed, she did not expect mercy. She expected execution. Instead, Roman soldiers surrounded her and did not raise their swords. That alone was terrifying. Rome spared enemies only when it had something to gain. And Zenobia was valuable, not as a woman, not as a queen, as a symbol. Aurelian had crushed a defiant empire. Now he needed Rome to see it. Zenobia was placed in custody, but not comfort. Days passed, then weeks. She was moved between guards and holding rooms, watched, isolated. No sentence was announced, no charge was read. Under Roman law, the moment her army fell, Zenobia ceased to exist as a legal person. Defeat did not mean punishment. It meant transformation. The ius gentium, Rome's so-called law of nations, held that anyone captured in war became property. Free people became possessions the moment defeat was declared. Titles evaporated. Crowns meant nothing. A queen now had no more legal standing than the lowest soldier taken alive on the battlefield. And Rome did not explain what would happen next. During captivity, Zenobia would have heard rumors. Some captives vanished before triumphs ever took place. Others were kept alive only long enough to be displayed, then quietly removed. When word finally came, It did not announce execution. It announced preparation. The Senate had granted Aurelian a triumph. This was the moment Zenobia understood what Rome intended to do with her. A Roman triumph was not simply a parade. It was a public ritual of domination. It turned conquest into spectacle, and at its center were always the defeated. Prisoners of war, captured generals, fallen kings, and queens. Zenobia would not be killed in a cell, away from witnesses. She would be preserved, dressed, adorned, displayed. Her body would tell a story Rome wanted remembered. In the days before the triumph, the city prepared. Banners were raised, statues cleaned, streets cleared from the Field of Mars, through the Forum and up toward the Capitoline Hill. Nearly 4 kilometers of exposure, 4 kilometers of faces. Chains were commissioned specifically for Zenobia. Not iron, gold, heavy, decorative. Impossible to ignore. They were not meant to stop escape. Rome knew she would not run. They were meant to turn the wealth she once commanded into the instrument of her humiliation. As the day approached, the city buzzed. Crowds speculated. Would Aurelian execute her at the end? Would she be dragged away mid-route? Would she vanish beneath the Capitoline, swallowed by the prison carved into the rock below? No one knew. Some captives completed the walk and lived. Others were diverted quietly before the final ascent. That possibility weighed heavier than the chains themselves. Zenobia, according to later accounts, held herself with composure. She did not beg. She did not collapse. She did not scream. That restraint unsettled the Romans, because Rome expected defeated queens to break. Zenobia's survival was not guaranteed. It was being evaluated. Her life hung not on justice, but on usefulness. And she was not the first woman to learn this. Across the empire, Rome had already perfected what happened when queens trusted law, status, or loyalty to protect them. The fate waiting for them was not written in codes. It was written in bodies. And in what coming next, humiliation would not produce silence. It would produce fire. Zenobia does not yet walk Rome's streets. Before the city sees her, Rome prepares her. And the preparation begins not with chains, but with law. Roman power did not rely on chaos. It relied on rules. Rules designed to protect Romans, and rules designed to abandon everyone else. Once Zenobia was captured, she crossed an invisible line. On one side stood citizens, shielded by centuries of legal privilege. On the other stood enemies of Rome. She belonged entirely to the second category. Under Roman law, defeat erased identity. The moment her army fell, Zenobia ceased to exist as a legal individual. She was no longer a ruler, no longer an ally, no longer even a person protected by law. This distinction mattered. A Roman citizen could not be flogged without trial. To bind a citizen without due process was scandalous. To execute one without appeal could trigger unrest. Roman bodies were protected because Roman power depended on citizens believing the state guarded them. Zenobia's body did not qualify. She was not Roman. She was not a citizen. She was not, legally speaking, a queen anymore. Roman officials understood exactly what that allowed them to do. While Zenobia waited, confined and watched, Rome decided how to use her. Not whether she would live or die, that would come later, but how she would be transformed into a lesson. Captured rulers were often held in deliberate limbo before triumphs. Not tortured, not comforted, simply denied information. They were moved between holding spaces. Guards changed. Sleep was disrupted. Food was rationed. Nothing severe enough to provoke outrage. Just enough to drain certainty. Would there be execution? Ransom. Public display. A quiet disappearance. No one told her. And while Zenobia waited, Rome prepared the city. Rumors spread deliberately. People whispered about her defiance, her ambition, her arrogance. Rome wanted the crowd ready long before she appeared. By the time she stepped into view, the audience would already know how to feel. The triumph, once announced, became unavoidable. A Roman triumph was not automatic. It required Senate approval, a signal that the state had decided the enemy's humiliation was useful. The procession followed a fixed route, but nothing about it was neutral. Every detail was arranged to shape how victory would be remembered. Musicians led the way, their noise filling the streets. Painted scenes of burning cities and fleeing enemies followed. Exotic animals were dragged through the crowd, proof that distant worlds had been conquered and reduced. Only after this display came the prisoners. They were the proof. Captured soldiers walked in chains, their defiance already stripped away. At the front of the column walked the rulers, kings, princes, and queens. Their clothing was often left intact. Rome did not want to erase who they had been. It wanted to show what conquest did to power. Zenobia would not be stripped of identity. She would be forced to carry it. 4 kilometers is a long distance when you are exhausted, bound, and exposed. The procession moved slowly, stopping often so the crowd could watch. Spectators leaned from balconies. Children were lifted onto shoulders. Vendors sold food while people laughed and pointed. This was not hatred, it was enjoyment. For Romans, triumphs were entertainment, proof that their empire expanded, proof that threats could be crushed. For captives, every step was exposure. There was no way to hide fear, no way to avoid eye contact. Every stumble was noticed, every pause judged, and at any moment, the route could change. Not every captive completed the triumph. Some rulers were diverted before the final ascent to the Capitoline Hill. While the procession continued toward Jupiter's temple, guards led the condemned away, through secured doors, down side streets, toward the slope beneath the hill. Toward the prison, the Mamertine. Above, music continued, cheers rose, sacrifices were offered. Rome celebrated. Below, execution waited. Every captive knew this possibility existed. Zenobia walked knowing it too. She also knew something else. Rome had done worse to women who trusted restraint. In the provinces, defeated women were often treated as spoils of war. This was not an aberration, it was expectation. Military culture, hardened by conquest, viewed defeated families as tools of domination. Delay did not mean protection, it meant postponement. Zenobia's royal status shielded her temporarily, but only because Rome still needed her intact. Others were not so fortunate. Across the empire, noble women lost protection the moment their male guardians fell. Their bodies became leverage. Violating a ruler's family sent a message that traveled faster than legions. Nothing you value is safe. Zenobia's survival depended entirely on how useful her humiliation proved. If she broke, if she pleaded or collapsed, execution would follow. Broken rulers no longer served as warnings. If she endured, if she remained composed, she might live, not as herself, but as a reminder. Aurelian understood this calculus. He was not known for mercy, he was known for order. Zenobia's fate would reflect Roman priorities, not Roman compassion. As the triumph day approached, the city waited. So did Zenobia. She had already lost her empire. Her armies were gone, her authority erased. Now Rome would decide whether her body would vanish beneath the Capitoline, or walk the streets as proof that resistance ended here. And while Zenobia waited, another queen, far from Rome, was about to learn the same lesson. She trusted Roman law. And Rome would teach her why that was a mistake. Zenobia steps into Rome. The noise hits first. Not a roar. Something worse. A rolling sound made of laughter, shouting, and curiosity sharpened into hunger. This is not a crowd waiting for justice. It is a crowd waiting to see something. She is adorned. Jewels flash at her throat and wrists. Fabric dyed in colors only royalty could once afford clings to her body, wrapped around her, cutting into skin already weakened by captivity. Are the chains gold? Not symbolic, not light. Massive links that pull her shoulders forward, forcing a posture just short of collapse. Guards walk beside her, not to restrain her, but to help bear the weight. Rome has turned her wealth into her burden. The crowd understands immediately. They point. They murmur. They laugh. This is what happens to queens. Zenobia does not scream. That unsettles them. She walks slowly, deliberately, refusing to rush. Every step is measured. every breath controlled. She does not lower her head. She does not look for mercy. She looks straight ahead. This composure is dangerous. Humiliation is meant to break people. When it doesn't, Rome adapts. Musicians play. Incense burns. The city displays itself as the center of the world. Zenobia's body becomes the boundary between Roman power and remembered defiance. Aurelian watches, not with pity, with calculation. Killing Zenobia would be simple, effective, final, but it would end the story too quickly. Rome does not always want endings. Sometimes it wants reminders. A living queen, reduced but breathing, speaks longer than a corpse. Zenobia survives the day. That decision, often called mercy, is not kindness. It is strategy. She is granted a villa near Rome. She lives under watch. She is absorbed into Roman society. Her daughters married into noble families. On paper, she survives. In reality, she has been neutralized. Every appearance reinforces Rome's victory. Every sight of her reminds observers that even the most powerful woman in the East ended dependent on Roman tolerance. Zenobia becomes a warning that walks. But not every queen breaks quietly. Far from Rome, in the cold province of Britannia, another woman watches Roman law fail her in real time. Her name is